What's going on, guys? Behind me here I have my Bonafide PWR 129. I know you guys didn't come to see my pretty face, you guys came for the review of the kayak, so let's get right into it. So as you can see, I have this thing, I'm not gonna say fully decked out, there's nothing on it, but you can see I got stickers on it, you can see there's a water line on it, you can tell I've been using it. I've actually had this kayak for almost a year now. It'll be 9 months here in September. I was one of the people who pre-ordered this thing in January. I've gotten about 6 months of use out of it because it pretty much sat in my garage the first couple months I had it, but now that I've used it for a little bit, I have developed a pretty strong opinion about the kayak, and that's why I'm making this review. We're gonna go from the kayak first, from front to back really quickly, because a lot of this stuff, a lot of the little knickknacks and doodads on there you guys can look up and probably already know about, but I'm just going to do a quick little overview and then I'm going to go over the pros and cons. We're going to keep this nice, short, sweet, and simple. So starting from the front of the kayak, we obviously got a handle. Mine sticks out permanently. I think they all do, I'm not sure. I know the back one's on a bungee, which you guys will see later. Mine sticks out permanently because I have it drilled into my Bonafide trolling motor mount, which I actually really like the Bonafide mount. I know One Objective makes one, I know Catch makes one. All of them are good. I chose to use Bonafides because they're the manufacturer who makes the kayak, and it just made the most sense to use the mount that the kayak manufacturer made for their own boat. So that's that. We have one of the Power Link, the removable plates for you to put electronics. I didn't use the front one for my trolling motor plug because I personally don't like that. I mean, it's a good spot for it, don't get me wrong, but water can pool up in it, or at least get into the plug a little bit easier. I actually went to the Catch factory and had them take out one of the rod holders, and I put my plug there. So they probably sell the gaskets for that by now. So if you guys are interested in the gasket for this to make your own plug, I'll put a link in the description if I can find that. Obviously we have Bonafides storage right here. We got another Power Link plate. This is where the dry pod would go. This is how you would lock that in. Foot pedals. I like that they got, they got 2 track mounts right here on the front of the boat. Like I said, guys, I'm gonna go through this stuff pretty quickly because I'm more interested in talking about the pros and the cons of the kayak. I know you guys can look up and see, all the attachments and all the little gear tracks and stuff online. They have diagrams of all this stuff, but I still think for anybody who's new to the kayak and maybe hasn't seen that stuff, it's good to go over it quickly. So anyways, with that being said, you got another side rail, adjacent to this one. Not adjacent, but you know what I mean. They got one in the front and then kind of one right next to it. Right here, you'll see I have a little knob. You're probably wondering what that is. That's for one of my rod holders. If you guys actually want to see my Bonafide kayak setup, like my tournament fishing setup, I'll leave a link down below in the description to that as well, because that'll give you a little bit more of a understanding of why I have some of these little new doodads and knickknacks on there. But as we keep going down the kayak, you'll see we have the junk drawer right here. It's under the seat. Here's the seat right here, which I really like. Nice seat. They also have some rails on the back side of the seat, on the side of the kayak. Handles right next to those rails for you to, grab the kayak. This also serves as a paddle holder as well with a little bungee. It's pretty neat. As we get to the back of the kayak, they have a really nice square cutout for a battery to go right there. Scupper holes. This fits a Yak Attack crate very nicely. They got another rail system right here that the bungee is also attached to. You can see I have another one of these little Yak Attack accessories. I put my camera right there. This is one of those Power Link places removable where you can see I have my wires coming out right here, zip tied to my bungees with the terminals right here that go to my battery. This right here is the lines that run to the foot pedals right there that connect to this rudder. There is a little knob right here that once you loosen up from this little attachment right here, I don't know what to call that, but once you pull this, you come to the back right here, and that rudder will drop straight down. This line goes to the left pedal, this line goes to the right pedal. Pretty self-explanatory stuff. Alright guys, so let's get into the pros and the cons of this kayak. We're going to start off with the pros and move on to the cons. So one of the obvious pros of this thing is how customizable it is with all of the aftermarket accessories you could put on it. It's kind of in the name, PWR Power 129. You can pretty much do whatever you want. It has removable plates that you don't have to drill into the actual hole of the kayak. You can just, drill into this, add an accessory, and then whenever you're done with that, you unscrew that right there, and then you can get one of these for like 15, 20 bucks and replace it. I know it's expensive for a piece of plastic, but it's nice that the option is there. They have one in the front of the kayak. They have one right here as well for, if you put a graph right here or something like that. They actually even have one under the seat right here. Can you guys see that? There you go. They got one, I believe, here you go, on the side of the seat. And then they have one in the back, which I'm utilizing. So plenty of them all over the kayak. And I really do like the ones that are near the seat because those are pretty sneaky. You could run a plug from the front of the kayak from under the seat and then connect it to the battery that you have in this little square, cutout area. So that's really, really great. Another one of the pros is the super big and easy to use storage area. You can flip these bales or whatever, open that up, and boom, you got a bag with tools and stuff in there. As you can see, this is my wire that runs to the back of my kayak for my battery. But I really like that. It's easy to access on the water. It's kind of one of those trademarks, and it's great. Another pro is the foot pedals that have a line that run to the rudder, so you can kind of steer basically hands-free. A lot of people have complaints about the rudder. I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks to make this a little bit easier and smoother to use, because I will say from the dealer, they're not the smoothest, but with a little bit of tweaking, you can get these things pretty nice. Another nice pro is the junk drawer. A lot of kayaks have this. I just like that this one slides out when I'm on the water because I don't always got to shove my hand under there and stuff like that. It's nice to just slide it out in and out, real easy. And then you can use this little screw right there to tighten it down. Removable seat. Seat comes out really easy, but it's also lockable really easy, so that way you can't lift it out. Really nice, easy, cheap feature that they put on there. Another pro is these sturdy side handles to move and lift the kayak with. And of course, they both, on each side of the kayak, double has paddle holders. Moving on to the back of the kayak, like I mentioned before, they have a cutout for a battery that fits a size 27 or 31 if it's not in a box. You can kind of tweak with it. Depending on the exact dimensions of your battery, it might fit in there. Plenty of space in the back. I actually put my, I can put like a little binder of baits right there, my Yak Attack crate, and then I have my battery in the back because that's where my wires come out of. I really like this handle in the back. It makes it easy for me to drag the kayak from the front or the back. I like that it tucks away and stows, so if you were to, let's say it was locked in place back there and you bumped into something on the back of the kayak, this might crack and damage the hull. So I like that it just tucks back there. Going under the kayak, I like the way that my bunks sit in there. Obviously, not every single crate is designed for every single kayak, but this is just like a standard Malone. I got this 2 years ago for a John boat because it had the good weight capacity, but then it fit my Bonafide perfectly. And a lot of kayak, this is the standard bunk style. You don't have to buy the most expensive kayak cart out there. You can just get like your standard bunk style kayak cart, and it should fit smoothly in between there. So that's something that I don't know if you guys have seen, not a lot of guys might show. But another thing about this kayak, before I move on to the cons, because a lot of you guys are probably wondering about it, is the stability of this thing. It's almost 12.5 foot kayak. I know it's a little over 12 feet. It's pretty wide, but it's also not that heavy. If you guys know the specs of this thing, it weighs less than 90 pounds with, without any accessories on there. That's pretty light for a kayak of this, style. A lot of guys are, they see the specs of the New Canoe Unlimited and see that it's a few inches wider. They see those native watercraft kayaks that are a little bit wider and a little bit heavier, and they know those are, stable fishing machines. Those things are beasts. But when you look at the Bonafide, it has a really nice platform still, really flat. And for a lot of guys that don't like having the dry pod out here in the middle, they actually sell a delete plate you can put right here that screws in with these already installed screws and makes this flat as well. So you can make this a really nice flat deck. I have plenty of videos on my YouTube of me fishing tournaments in this thing with, setting the hook with frogs and all types of stuff. So it's really stable kayak, and coming from a Old Town Sportsman 106, this was a really nice upgrade. Now we're going to talk about some of the cons of this kayak, or I guess some of the things they could have improved, whatever term you want to use. It's honestly not a lot for me. I really do like this thing, but there's always room for improvement. Let's talk about that. So one of the features you might have seen, you know, promoted or advertised with this thing is the ability to put a rod on the seat right here and then have that rod go into this little, you know, rod tip protector, you know, little whatever you want to call it. That feature is pretty redundant. It just doesn't work that well, especially if you have like nice expensive rods that you don't want to just basically shove in there and have bent at an awkward angle, because this is just not, it might look straight on and it might look good, and yes, it does kind of work, but I've never actually been able to put a rod right here and have it go in there, especially because if you have a graph, right, I run my graph on my left hand side right here, and then my plug is on that side. If my graph's there, it obviously doesn't work. And then even without my graph being there, like if I could get a rod and show you guys right now, I would. It just does not, it's just not the best. Let me get a rod and show you guys. All right guys, so here's a 7-foot medium spinning rod, Daiwato Tula, pretty standard rod that, you know, most people would be throwing out when they're, you know, bass fishing. So you're gonna stick the tip in there, right? Which already is sketchy, but whatever. It's not deep enough. It seems deep enough, but it's not deep enough for you to comfortably lay your rod in here without it, the weight of the rod kind of push, like, see how once I put it down, it pushes against, I'll show you guys. Now the tip of the rod is like bent in there, like tense, pushed up against the top. Does it work? Yes. Is it functional? Sure. If you were using like a little 6.6 rod, maybe it's a little bit better, but then you have to understand too, when you're sitting in the kayak, your leg is like right here, your foot is, you know, look how it's kind of on top of the foot pedal, so your toes, if you have big feet, they kind of, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't work. And that's why I put my plug right there and didn't even have any problem basically getting rid of one of them, because they're just not that functional. Good idea, it kind of works, you might like them, I don't. Another, you know, I'm not gonna say it's a con, but it's something they could have thought out a little bit better, is this location that's pretty much designed / meant for your trolling motor plug. You can use it, a lot of guys do, with no issues, it's great. You know, your trolling motor's right here, you run your plug, boom, it's super, you know, clean, but water can just splash and pool up in here. And even though this is a great kayak and it does do well in big waves, not that you should be out in big waves, but I'm saying big waves for a kayak, right? My bow goes under the water sometimes when I'm fishing these tournaments, you know, when the boat traffic gets crazy on these big lakes. And if you had a plug right here, it would be at risk of water just coming constantly into the plug, versus the plug that's facing that way, it has obvious advantages that, you know, I just think that it's kind of a no-brainer. You really shouldn't be putting a plug there if you care about the longevity of that plug. It's just, I'm just telling the truth. The last and final con I'm going to talk about, or something that they could have improved, that again, I'm also going to tell you guys how you can tweak it and make it slightly better, but it's definitely something that for the money you're paying, it should just be good out the box, is this foot pedal rudder system. You know, this line runs right here through these little, you know, tool, you know, little hole, whatever. It goes through the kayak, comes out the back of this little hole, and this is where the, you know, how you control the rudder. If you push on the pedal, it'll pull on this cord and turn this little dial knob, whatever. And I already showed you guys how you drop the rudder. The main problem with it is out the box, it's just not smooth. Like, it works, you can turn the rudder, but once you actually get the rudder dropped, which that doesn't even drop smoothly, you have to do it like manually by hand the first couple times. Once you get it dropped, once you're, you know, using these foot pedals to push and pull on the rudder, it's just not very smooth. And, you know, when you're steering with the kayak, especially at high speeds of, you know, 4 miles an hour, 3, even 2 miles an hour, it's like they get stuck, and then you end up shoving all your weight on one side of the pedal. Like if this left side pedal gets stuck and you're having a hard time, so you push a little bit too hard, then you'll end up turning the kayak, it'll swerve left, and then when you try to go back right, this thing is turned so far to the left that this unloops itself from the dial, and then you can't actually turn it back right. So then you have to stand up and turn around and turn this back by hand, and it can be a pain in the ass. So the #1 way around it is dry lube. You need to spray dry lube on this thing. You can actually see I have a little bit of white residue from dry lube that I sprayed on there. You can see under my kayak I have dry lube that has been sprayed all under the rudder, so that thing can drop a lot easier. And now that I've done that, whenever I pull the little cord that is located right there under the seat, this thing drops immediately, and I can actually feel the weight of it dropping. So that's really good, because I used to have issues with that thing dropping. I would have to like fiddle with it on the water, and it was annoying. Make sure you guys are spraying dry lube on the pedals, moving them back and forth. And the last tip I have for you guys is keep an eye on this little paracord thing. You guys have had issues with this snapping. You guys have had issues with this fraying. My personal retailer, I got lucky with my model. This wasn't sharp. They did a good job of, you know, making this little rail smooth. Number one tip I can give you is just, if this line on your kayak is good, if this is smooth, that's already number one. Like, you're already in the clear of that. When you buy this kayak, double check this, because this is going to be one of the things that can already be a heartbreaker and set you for failure before you even get started. Other than that, guys, I would say this is a pretty solid fishing platform. Definitely one of the best kayaks in its class for the money. I mean, you're getting a lot of customizable options, a lot of aftermarket parts that are going to fit with this kayak, and you're getting the actual kayak for under $2,000. I believe it retails for $1,899. If you guys have any questions about this kayak, anything specific relating to it, definitely leave a comment down below. I'll get right back to you guys. I'll have links to, you know, some of the accessories that I use on the kayak down below. Check them out. Anyways, folks, that's going to do it for me for my Bonafide PWR 129 review. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.